Tonight's story comes from someone who had what should have been a normal walk home after work. But a few minutes later, they found themselves completely alone on an empty street, being followed by a car whose driver never said a single word. Here's what happened. This happened about a year ago, and it's one of those experiences that still crosses my mind whenever I'm walking alone at night. It was a Friday, and I was getting home much later than usual after work. My normal route involved taking the subway and then a short rideshare home. Usually the driver would drop me right outside my apartment building, but that night part of the street had been closed for construction. Because of that, the driver dropped me off near the entrance to the neighborhood instead. It wasn't a big deal. My apartment was only about a 5-minute walk away. When I stepped out of the car, I immediately noticed how quiet everything was. Most of the businesses along the street had already closed for the night. The grocery store was dark. The small diner on the corner had its chairs stacked on the tables. Even the convenience store that usually stayed open late had its lights off. I checked my phone. 11:45 p.m. I was tired, hungry, and just wanted to get home. About halfway down the street, I noticed a dark-colored sedan approaching from the opposite direction. Its headlights were unusually bright, almost blinding. The car passed me slowly before continuing toward the road closure behind me. For a second, I considered waving the driver down to let him know the road ahead was blocked. Then I figured he'd realize it himself soon enough and kept walking. A minute or two later, something occurred to me. The road was a dead end because of the construction. The driver would have had to turn around by now, but I never heard a U-turn. I slowed my pace slightly. That's when I noticed the headlights again. This time they were behind me. At first I thought nothing of it. Maybe the driver had turned around and happened to be heading in the same direction. I continued walking. The sound of the engine grew louder, then louder. The headlights seemed unusually close. I stopped and turned around. The car stopped too. I stood there for a few seconds staring at it. The headlights were so bright I couldn't see inside. Eventually, I turned and started walking again. A few moments later, I heard the engine. The car was moving again. I stopped. It stopped. I walked. It moved. This happened 3 times. By now, the street felt completely different. The silence that had seemed peaceful a few minutes earlier suddenly felt wrong. There were no pedestrians. No open stores, no other vehicles. Just me and this car. I tried convincing myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the driver was lost. Maybe he was checking directions on his phone every time he stopped. But deep down, I didn't believe that. Eventually, I decided I was being paranoid. I turned around and started walking toward the vehicle. To this day, I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that nothing strange was happening. The moment I took a few steps forward, the engine suddenly revved. The car lurched toward me. I froze. Then it stopped. The driver's window rolled down. A man's arm emerged from the darkness inside. He was holding something. Even now, I couldn't tell you what it was. A flashlight. A tool. A weapon. I honestly don't know. The headlights were shining directly into my eyes, making it impossible to see clearly. The arm remained extended outside the window for a few seconds. Then the engine revved again. This time, the car accelerated much faster. That's when every instinct in my body told me the same thing. Run! I turned and sprinted toward my apartment building. I didn't look back. I remember fumbling with my keys, nearly dropping them as I reached the entrance. The second I got inside, I locked the door and rushed to the window overlooking the street. The car was gone. There was no sign of it anywhere. For several minutes, I stood there watching the empty road below. Nothing happened. No headlights. No engine. Nothing. I've replayed that night in my head countless times since then. Maybe the driver was trying to scare me. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe there was some innocent explanation for what happened. But what still bothers me is the object in his hand. And and what his intentions were when he started driving toward me. Whatever the reason was, I'm glad I didn't stay there long enough to find out. Since then, I've avoided walking home that late whenever possible, and if I ever get the feeling that something isn't right, I don't stop to investigate anymore.